I say me, or Maddie and Bianca. They're both sitting next to each other. Yeah.
Okay. Is it Shabbat? Is it Shabbat? Is it Shabbat?
Yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Welcome to our Friday night services. I am Rabbi Benjamin Zober, and with me, of course,
Rabbi Sarah Zober, and welcome.
we are so glad that you have decided to join us as we welcome Shabbat, whether you are here in person or out there, wherever you are, wonderful people. We are praying this evening out of Mishkan Tefillah. If you are virtual and you would like a copy of our Siddur, you can download it at sinaireno.org/live. It will have all of the prayers and readings and meditations for this evening. But if you would rather just pray with your heart and follow along from memory, that is also a wonderful, wonderful option. We are just glad that you have found a place to welcome Shabbat. We begin with a reading that is not in the books. When you pray in the synagogue of your city. If you are unable to pray in the synagogue, pray in your field. If you are unable to pray in your field, pray in your home. If you are unable to pray in your home, pray on your couch. If you are unable to pray on your couch, meditate in your heart. This is the meaning of the verse. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. To light our Shabbat candles this evening, it is our pleasure to invite up Barbara Weinberg. You can find the candle lighting on page 2 in the book.
It's always a guess.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Barbara. Our next song can be found on page 10, Ma Yafeh Hayom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Mayafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Mayafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
And we turn to the very next page, all the way down at the bottom of the page. Ele chamda libi.
Ele chamda libi, Chusana ve'onati taleh. 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 Ele chamda libi, Chusana ve'onati taleh.
And we turn now to page 14 for Or Zarua. If you've got the full thing, it is the last of the 3 paragraphs.
Or Zarua, not Sadiq, Ol Yisrael lev simcha. Or Zarua, not Sadiq, Ol Yisrael lev simcha. Or Zarua, not Sadiq, Ol Yisrael lev simcha. Ol Yisrael lev simcha. Or Zarua, not Sadiq, Ol Yisrael lev simcha. Ol Yisrael lev simcha. Or Zarua, not Sadiq, Ol Yisrael lev simcha. Or Zarua, not Sadiq, Ol Yisrael lev simcha. Our next song can be found on page 20. We will sing L'cha Dodi, and the day has come.
You don't mean it.
I do mean it, actually. We are doing verses 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So all of our odd verses. And we will see how this goes. It's been a long while since we've practiced verse 7.
Or 3.
This is for you, Marilyn. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 1. Shamor ezachor b'dibur echad, ishbi'anu elcha meyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, v'shemo tiferet b'lim tehillah. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yadadai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 3. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, ומצאים מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בעמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך נקרא, יחדותי לקראת כלה, ידדי ידדי ידדי, לשבת נקבלה, יחדותי לקראת כלה, ידדי ידדי ידדי, לשבת נקבלה. Verse 5. Hitorari, hitorari, hiva orech umiori, uri uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich miglam. Lechadodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 Shabbat nekabela. Verse 7. Vehu yulim shisat shosayich, v'rachaku koham mevalayich, yasis alayich Elohayich, kimsos hatan al kala. Lechadodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 Shabbat nekabela. Verse 9. Boi v'shalom ateret hala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, Lechadodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, yadadai, 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 Shabbat nekabela.
You may be seated. We continue together with Chatzi Kaddish, which can be found on page 26. Yitkara v'yitkarash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dekol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, ubizman kariv, vimeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, leolam olam me'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, v'yitare, v'yithalal, shemei d'kudesha b'richu, leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damihiran be'ama, v'meru, amen. We turn to page 28 for the Baruch Hu, and if you are able, please rise.
Yai, Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach
We turn to page 31 and read together at the top of the page. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets a way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Ahavat Olam can be found on the very next page.
Ahavat Olam Bet Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chokim u'mishatim Otanu limadata Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochnenu U'kumenu nasiach b'chukacha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'britzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem chayenu Ve'orech yameinu U'bahem nege yomam v'layla Nege yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatcha al tasir Mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Ohev amo Yisrael. The Shema can be found on the next page. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Abad.
You may be seated. We continue together, page 36, with the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh Asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha V'shinantam livanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvrachtecha v'derech, u'shalchbecha u'kumecha, u'shartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'chtavtam amezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha, leman tizkaru, v'asitam et kol mitzvotai, v'tem kedoshim lelohechem. Ahani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeti atchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem Emet. We continue together on page 38 in the English. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Michamocha can be found on page 40.
ונאמר כי יפעל אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Vishamru can be found on page 44.
Page 43. We got a reading on it there first. Skipping ahead. I know you love hearing me sing.
It's true. In the middle of the page, give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapares sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru on the next page.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam beritonam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam beritonam. That's the right chord. B'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam beritonam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam beritonam. Ubayom hashvi'i Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam beritonam.
We turn to page 46 for the Amidah. If you are able, please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanorah El Elyon Omer Hasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'imaot U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav le'oshia, Morid hatah, Mechakel chayim b'chesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim rofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umechayeh emunato, Mishenei akbar, Michamocha al givurot, Umidom elach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom elu chaselah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please continue silently to page 62, and when you are finished or when you feel ready, please be seated.
Shalom Rav can be found on page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki ata u'melech Adon lechol ha'shalom. Ki ata u'melech Adon lechol ha'shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. V'tov einecha Limarach et Amacha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMevarech et Yisrael, Ma Shalom.
At this time, we turn to our Torah service, Seder Kriyat HaTorah. We begin with a reading at the bottom of page 245. Happy is the one who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding, for its value is greater than silver, its yield than fine gold. It is more precious than rubies. No treasure can match it. We would like to invite up
Crystal and Alina and Tracy, if you want to come up and make this a whole family affair.
And we also welcome up Jay Goldberg to carry our Torah this evening. And if you are able, please rise as we turn to page 246.
Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, u'devar Adonai Yerushalayim.
All right, go ahead. Page 248, right?
Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Gadol Shemo, Gadol Adonai Iti, Oneroma Shemo Yachdav, Lecha Adonai Hagedula, V'Hagevura, V'Hatiferet, V'Hanetzach, V'Hahod, Ki Cho B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz, Ki Cho B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz, Adonai Hamamlacha, V'Yamid Na'aseh L'chol Rosh. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Amen. Al HaTorah ve'Avodah ve'Gemilut Chasadim. Al HaTorah ve'Avodah ve'Gemilut Chasadim. Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Amen.
You may be seated. So as many of you know, I was ahead of myself last week when I announced that it was Juneteenth next week. It's actually Juneteenth this week. For those of you who may not be familiar with the celebration of Juneteenth, Juneteenth is the celebration of the Emancipation Proclamation, which allowed a great number of Americans to take their rightful citizenship in this country. So one of the ways in which this year I have celebrated Juneteenth, and that I am going to encourage all of you to celebrate Juneteenth, is to pick up some writing by specifically womanist authors. Now, what is a womanist? We've heard of feminism. Those are people who believe that women's commentary, say on the Torah and other matters, are just as equal to men's commentary. A womanist is specifically saying that the voices of Black women should be centered in some of our narratives. So for those of you who knew, I was on retreat the last 4 or 5 days or so, and a fellow pastor, an Episcopal priest friend of mine, and I studied Sarah and Hagar through the lens of Black women who were seeing themselves both as the matriarch in their own right, but also as Hagar, the enslaved woman, the woman from Egypt who was different and other and used and abused for Sarah's needs. I want to make sure that we understand that Juneteenth, that especially all of this stuff, all of the Black Lives Matter stuff, all of the Juneteenth stuff, all of this diversity, equity, inclusion stuff that we do is not meant to be abstract. It's not meant to be something that I preach from the pulpit and you go, oh, wow, that's really nice and well done, Rabbi, and then walk home and kind of go back to your regular lives. These interpretations need to be centered so that we make sure that we don't become oppressors in our own way, or that if we are, we get better at it. Our narrative, our central narrative, is that of the Exodus. Moses said to the Pharaoh, let my people go so that they may worship God, right? It wasn't just we want to stop being slaves. It was that, no, we have a higher calling. And one of the things that we're going to read here, now that we're in the book of Numbers, the book of Bamidbar, of our wandering through the desert, what do we do in the wilderness? We try to build a society. We try to build a society that is better than the society that we left. And as we look around us, we just had a primary here in Nevada. I hope all of you were able to vote and voted. Our job in making the world better, making our society better than the society that we were given, is a very concrete thing. And we have to reach beyond our borders in order to do so. This evening, I'm going to be reading from Parshat Beha'alotcha. I'll be reading from Numbers chapter 8, verses 1 through 4. And it's my pleasure to invite up Marilyn Roberts to say our blessing this evening. Ta'amod Miriam Shlomit Bat Felek V'Golda La'aliyah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. V'daber Adonai el Moshe Lemor, daber el Aharon v'amarta elav, v'ha'alotcha et hanerot el mul pnei hamenorah, ya'iru shivat hanerot. V'ya'aschen Aharon el mul pnei hamenorah ha'elah, toda, neroteha, Ka'asher tziva Adonai et Moshe. V'zeh ma'aseh hamenorah miksha zahav ad yarecha ad pircha miksha hu k'mar asher har Adonai et Moshe ken asa et hamnorah.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Natan B'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Don't go too far. Mishaberach Avatenu Vimatenu Avraham Yitzhak V'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless you, Marilyn, since you have come up to Torah in honor of God and Torah. May you merit from the Holy One of blessing, protection, rescue from any trouble or distress, and from any illness, minor or serious, even if it be half an inch. May God send blessing and success in your every endeavor, together with all Israel, and let us say, Amen. Thank you, Matt. At this time, with the Sefer Torah in our midst, we think of those in our community who are in need of healing. We especially think of Wendy Alderman, Laura Ann Borsoff, Joan Brickman, Neil Calder, Laura Cohen, Jeff Gingold, Stephen Gold, Al Grossman, Marlene Harris, Harvey Higdon, Laura Jawad, Kevin Knox, Amma Lovelace, Harav Miriam Yael Chaya Batsara, Tim Ober, Judy Ramos, Ray Riker, Marilyn Roberts, Shirley Rutgevitz, Sarah Batchava, Marianne Schenker, Helene Spinner, Jessica Waditz, Bobby Wells, Usher Zalik, Kathleen Bartlett, Daryl Dworkin, everyone affected by the coronavirus, and the Jewish and other communities in the Ukraine. If there are other names that you would like to mention at this time, please do so either in the chat if you're online or as my hand sweeps over you.
Carl Weinberg, Barbara Gonzalez, and Sue Ruiz. Lou Gross.
For all these people and those whose names still remain in our hearts. Moses, when in the wilderness, his sister grew very ill. And he said to God, one of the first spontaneous prayers, El na rafana la, please God, heal her. And we sing that together. El na rafana la, El na rafana la, El na rafana la, El na rafana la. May the one who heals the sick heal all those who are in need. At this time, we invite up, let's see, Maddie, Bianca, Rose, do you want to come up and help me lift and dress the Torah? Cool. All right. Awesome. All right. Take a whole crew. There's 3 pieces, so each of you gets something. We all rise as we lift the Torah. All right. I got one for you. I got one for you and one for you. How's that? We all rise if you are able. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai. Dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai. Bezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. We turn together to page 257. We read responsibly. When Torah entered the world, freedom entered it. The whole Torah exists only to establish peace.
Its highest teaching is love and kindness. What is hateful to you, do not do to any person.
That is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Go and learn it. Those who study Torah are the true guardians of civilization.
Honoring one another, doing acts of kindness, and making peace. These are our highest duties. But the study of Torah is equal to them all, because it leads to them all.
Let us learn in order to teach. Let us learn in order to do. We turn to page 256 in the middle. It's Chaim hi lama chazikim ba metom ha meushar teracheha dacheinu bechol tivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chodesh, Chodesh Yameinu, Chodesh Yameinu kekedem. You may be seated.
If I had a hammer, I'd hammer it in the morning. I'd hammer it in the evening, all over this land. Oh, you know this one. What's going to be in your head all night? I'd hammer out danger. I'd hammer out a warning. I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. So goes the song. Also, it goes for ringing a bell and singing a song. In this well-known song, Pete Seeger's lyrics transform the hammer and the bell of a workplace to a hammer of freedom and a bell of justice. And of course, a song about love between brothers and sisters. This whole song resonated through the civil rights movement and all the way up to today, because we do have the tools and instruments. We do have the power, if only we can remember how to use them. This week in our Torah portion, we come across an instruction from God about a particular instrument. Have 2 silver trumpets made, make them of hammered work. They shall serve you to summon the community and to set the divisions in motion. When both are blown, the whole community shall assemble. And if only one is blown, chieftains, the head of Israel's contingents, shall assemble. The trumpets shall be blown by Aaron's sons, the priests. They shall be for you an institution for all times throughout the ages. When you are at war in your land against an aggressor who attacks you, you shall sound short blasts on the trumpets, that you may be remembered before Adonai your God and be delivered from your enemies. And on your joyous occasions, your fixed festivals and new moon days, you shall sound the trumpets over your burnt offerings and your sacrifices of well-being. They shall be a reminder of you before your God. I, Adonai, am your God. The trumpet that we have just heard about was a different instrument than the shofar, one we are probably a little bit more familiar with in a Jewish context. The trumpets, though, were played only by the priests. Although their uses were similar, the musicians are what differed. So what difference does it make if a priest is playing a note, especially when the shofar is used for essentially the same occasions and times and purposes? Most of the scholars and rabbis who have examined this bit of text have taken a look at the difference between the two and when one comes into play in various texts, and have noted that by the time of the rabbis, any meaningful difference between them was essentially lost. But I think looking at it this way misses something important. There is an insight in the last little bit of God's instructions. They shall be a reminder for you. The priests are not doing the same thing with their trumpets as the shofar blowers. They are telling us something. They are telling us something that we already know, but that we might have missed or forgotten. They are reminding us. The call to justice, the call to gather with the community, even the call to take up arms. These are all signals that we can get from a shofar or a trumpet alike. They are all assignments that we are familiar with. But when the priests sound those calls with the trumpets, it reinforces that urgent call. The trumpets were inscribed with the phrase, God's mighty deeds to scatter the enemy and to put flight to all opponents of justice. The trumpet, used as a reminder to all of us, is one more tool available to the priests. When used in the right hands, they could signal something special. Of course, a tool in the wrong hands can be very dangerous. How many men and women have seized not only trumpets, but microphones and media, and have shouted, ranted, turning their voices into weapons, wreaking havoc and harm on those who hear. Rather than echo the better angels of our nature, they have repeated and amplified our basest fears and anger. And it is tempting to look at our modern age and excuse the ease with which hatred is repeated because we have so many ways of calling on people. Technology makes talking easy and makes being heard even easier. We can repeat and reinforce those awful ideas, but more importantly, we can reinforce and repeat our better impulses and virtues. Emphasis through repetition is not new. It is something that we now understand the priests did with their trumpets. Even in antiquity, we needed reminders now and again. The difference was that when the priests blew on their trumpets, it was a particular message from a particular source. Sometimes the priests offered new insights, but largely they told the people or played notes that reminded them of what they already knew to be true. We have long had many things directed at us, not the least of which comes from our own conscience. So many things call to us. Some voices are louder than others, some more piercing, some more convincing. And while it is often the loudest voice that gets heard, we need to listen for particular voices. The trumpet was once such a voice. The call of justice, of righteousness, that is a call to which we are familiar. When we hear it, it is not for the first time in a space like this. Perhaps it is one we have heard many times, not even aloud. But when the priests sound the trumpets, when we raise our voices to call people to action, it is a reminder of you before your God. V'hiyu lachem l'zikaron lifnei Elohechem. We have all the tools we need, all that it takes to make the world as it should be, to bring in peace and justice, to usher in an age of freedom and tolerance. Maybe we just need a reminder that we've got a hammer and we've got a bell and we've got a song to sing all over this land. It's the hammer of justice. It's the bell of freedom. It's the song about love between our brothers and our sisters all over this land. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Aleinu, which can be found at the bottom of page 282. If you are able, please rise, and we would like to invite Bonnie Martin up to open our ark. All by yourself. You've been training for this. You got it.
Tell Carol to get her butt in here and help me out.
Carol, Bonnie says get your button in here and help out.
Help me out.
Okay. I'll get that back.
Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגוי הרצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שמחתנו בהם, וגוררנו ככל המונה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. Oh, may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Page 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo Thank you. You may be seated. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. At this time, we remember the Reverend Dr. Gunther Wasserberg, Jim Ballantyne, Eli Kane, David Stucker, Terry Gregory, Grayson Corbett, Joan F. Nutkin, Andrew Venuti, Gerald Kaufman, Goldie Brewstein, Lucille Alexander, Stanley Browdy, Edna Bailey, Jenna Deborah Danif Cassell, Will Spiegelman, Leonard Fusari, James Holly, Ken Hecht, Roberta Small-Risch, Edward Gingold, Cookie Carolyn Javinsky, In this Shabbat, we commemorate the yard sites of Yetta Berger, Carol Ann Gordon, Harry O. Horowitz, Marjorie Bartlett, Minnie Steinberg, Jeffrey L. Cagle, Joe Townley, Julius Roish, Joe Dworkin, Leona Gordon, Selma E. Bloom, Scott Boris, Donald G. Olsner, Lottie Kahn, Claire A.P. Duffy Jr., Dr. Ruben Zucker. If there are other names that you wish to share, I encourage you to do so if you are online, if you feel comfortable in the comments, or if you are present here when my eyes meet yours. For all of these names and the ones that we hold in our hearts, Kadisha Tome can be found on page 294. If it is your custom, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah v'alma divrach v'rutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Ba'agala vizman kariv vimru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata Ta'amiran be'alma vimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael vimru amen. Yosei shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael vimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all who mourn, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. Jay, I wonder if we can invite you up for some announcements this evening. We've got them all written out. You don't have to make them up. Although if you want to kind of
Improv a vaudeville.
You can pick and choose your favorite stuff.
Oh, wow, this is new. I like this. This is good. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you to Joanna and Rose Petersky for hosting this week's Oneg in memory of those who've lost loved ones to addiction. Thank you to Michael Gordon for running our live stream and the tech here, and certainly for all you do as president of Temple Sinai. We very much appreciate your service. Contact Michael Gordon if you're interested in joining the Shabbat live stream tech team, and you can download, oh, that's old. Okay, never mind. Join us after the service for challah and juice in the social hall. Hosted in-person Onegs are back, and you can sign up in the temple kitchen or online at sinaireno.org/oneg. Also, please join us afterwards if you're online for the Yisma Zoom, our virtual Oneg, which will be hosted live after the service. Visit sinaireno.org/live for details to enter the virtual Oneg. Also, please join us tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for Torah study via Zoom, starting at Genesis 41:46. And as always, thank you for being here, and rabbis, thank you for making the services special.
Rabbis,
Yes, ma'am.
Sunday, there is a Juneteenth celebration starting at noon and going way into the evening with a concert at the end
Where is it?
at Idlewild Park.
At Idlewild Park. Okay, so I am hearing that there's a Juneteenth celebration on Sunday, which is actually Juneteenth. It starts at noon in Idlewild Park and it goes
All the way into the evening. There's
Un-
a concert.
awesome. There's a concert in the evening. Thank
And
you.
Tomorrow,
And tomorrow, which is Shabbat after Torah study.
after Torah study from noon to 4, tomorrow is World Refugee Day.
Noon to 4, World Refugee Day. And I assume there's a ton of stuff, right?
There's an Well, there's an event noon to 4 at Miguel Rivera Park.
Okay, an event noon to 4 at Miguel Rivera Park. And if I recall correctly, there are also some highest events going on online if you can't leave the house. So check highest.org, HIAS. Good, thank you. All right, so I need to get my.
Our closing number this evening is Adon Olam, which you can find in your prayer books on page 321.
Well, and I love this because Jeff Gingold, you have not been sitting in here for a very long time, and I just happened to choose your favorite Adon Olam for today. So this is Beshert. This is a melody by Yonatan Razel, who's an Israeli artist, and he sets it to Dror Yikra as well. So. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefzo Azai Malach Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kivlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Back to Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefzo Azai Malach Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kivlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Yabati Farah Behu Echad Ve'en Sheni Naham Shilo Nehafira Beli Reshit Beli Tachlit Velo Ha'oz V'ham Nizram Behu Eli V'chai Goali B'tzur Chevli V'etzara Behu Nisi Umanus Venakrusi biyom nekra Vehu echad v'ein sheni Neham shilo ne'achbira V'li reshit v'li tachlit V'lo ha'oz v'ham nizra Vehu eli v'chai goali V'tzur chevli v'etzara Vehu nisi umanos li Venatrusi biyom nekra Biyado apid ruchi B'eti shan ve'ayira B'im ruchi geviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Biyado apid ruchi B'eti shan ve'ayira B'im ruchi geviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefzo Azai Malach Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa B'chefzo Azai Malach Shemo Nikra. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll see you at either our online or our in-person oneg.
Shabbat Shalom.